Yes, and before we start, there's also the opening sting that's ready, and our graphic designer, our video editor has worked on it. So let's show that as well. All right, we're live finally. It's the World Cup that's begun. The tournament opener's just done a couple of hours ago. A game that actually surprisingly ended up being a lot more entertaining than we thought it would be. The result was probably foregone. USA is what a lot of people expected to sort of come over Canada, and that did happen today. We've got Pramod and we've got Jeet Rajani. Guys, how are we doing? And USA beating Canada. We saw that coming, but did we see that coming from Aaron Jones? Let's start with Jeet there.
Aaron Jones, to be fair, I didn't see that coming because the guy had a strike rate of just over 100 in his T20 career coming into this game. But what's really good is that the guy actually wore the talk because before the tournament started, he talked about playing an aggressive brand of cricket and leaving a lasting impact. And this guy's walked the talk and actually proven it with a swashbuckling knock. So it's really good to see that. In terms of result, yeah, it was pretty much expected, but I have to admit that around 8 overs into the second innings, I was like, whoa, hold up. Maybe there is an outside chance that Canada will pull it off, but Aaron Jones kind of saved the day.
100%. Pramod, 0 for 1 at the end of the first over, not even the first over, 2 balls into the first over. Kareem Sana sort of getting the ball to move around a bit. Even you must have thought, okay, Canada, can you do something there?
Absolutely. I think when they scored 195 and they had that wicket of the second ball, I mean, I really thought they would, they are favorites from there. More so because, their fast bowlers got the ball to swing till about the 7th or the 8th over. And I think at the 8 over mark, US were just 48 for 2 and had a mountain to climb. And then they introduced Nikhil Datta, which sort of completely changed the momentum towards USA. But yeah, some solid batting by Aaron Jones and Gauss, of course. And I like always associate Aaron Jones with, pleasant stroke play and, piercing the gaps sort of a guy. Today, I think he probably played the innings of his life. He really broke free, absolutely broke free. And I think that 9th over that when Nikhil Datta came on, I think turned out to be the difference in the end.
100% the innings of his life, and which is why he's also the top performer of the day. He notched up his highest ever T20 I score, 94, an unbeaten 94 of just 40 balls. What's even more important to sort of focus on is the fact that he scored 10 sixes, 10 and 4 fours, 14 bounties and 40 balls. That's what, less than 3 balls per bounty. That's as good as it gets, man. That's proper elite stuff we're talking about here. Good on him for being able to notch up an innings like that, especially, in such a crunch situation, having lost an early wicket, chasing such a high score. It's the tournament opener, US-Canada. He also spoke about in the post-match presentation how Canada have always come hard against them and sort of having that, little battles going on there. So good on him for coming up with such a knock. But again, Jeet, we spoke about this offer in terms of certain things that did go in his favor in terms of how he attacked spin, how he was more comfortable attacking the leg side region as well. Thoughts on that in the way he played today?
So I remember having worked against Canada during the qualifiers, and what I had observed in that tournament or before the tournament started, my analysis that I did was that he's a very, very strong leg side player, which means he's a little bit weak in terms of scoring and the range that he accesses on the offside. So it's probably best to, keep it on the off stump or outside the off stump, whether you are a pacer or you are a spinner. That is something that kind of lags. So I was just checking the wagon wheel after he finished his knock. He had 4 fours, all of them coming on the offside, and had 10 sixes, all of them coming on the leg side. So there was a huge difference in terms of the percentage of runs that he scored towards the leg side. So I felt Canada erred in terms of planning. They could have been a little bit better. Spinners, let's just forget what they did altogether. They just handed it over completely to Aaron Jones, and he just took it over at the end of the day. But what I also observed was like in the first 8 overs, they were 48, like Pramod mentioned. But in those 8 overs, there was just 1 over where USA scored over 10 runs. What followed after those 8 overs was 6 overs where they scored 111 runs, each of the overs going for 10 or more. And that is where there was a huge, huge momentum shift. Of course, it started with Nikhil Datta paying tribute to USA by throwing a pitch of the first ball itself. But man, rest is history. What a knock by Aaron Jones, dude. Really happy to see that.
Yeah, actually, another interesting thing about that knock was his matchup against Saad bin Zafar. I think before today, I think he averaged like probably 4 or 5 against him and gotten out twice or thrice against him. And today, but I think the way he played today and the way he dominated him and the rest of the spinners and other bowlers was truly top notch.
Completely agree with you there. In fact, quite a few comments already coming in. Great match. Didn't expect this, sure. I mean, we all agree because, of course, we didn't see Canada scoring 194. We'll also talk about that in due course. Don't worry. Ashwin in his channel spoke about Aaron Jones. He did speak about him briefly there. Is he a local? I mean, technically, yeah, of course, he's based in New York, but he's from Barbados. And we did get to hear a lot of stories courtesy Ian Bishop. It's always good to have Ian Bishop in comms, especially when it's lesser known names featuring in the game, because भाई नहीं तो म्यूट पे ही देखो, ज़्यादा कुछ मत सुनो वहाँ पे. And in terms of a couple of questions, let's take these before we move on. Down under, pitches in the US have spongy bounce, especially in the game against Bangladesh. Your take? Jeet, let's start with you on this. Drop-in pitches, ye to pata hai in the US especially. So given that we're not entirely sure of what to expect, but do you agree with this in terms of how what sort of carry or bounce we saw in yesterday's warm-up game as well and today's game for that matter?
Generally, these drop-in pitches are quite unpredictable, but the safe thing to generally assume is that they will more likely to be, batting-friendly pitches. There will be movement early on. There will be extra bounce as well. So it was not entirely surprising in terms of how it has behaved. So I know there was a lot of skepticism and a lot of uncertainty over how it's going to pan out, how the outfield is going to behave. But generally, this is how the drop-in pitches behave. So I don't see much of a change going forward at any other venues as well. It's probably going to depend upon how the weather plays a part and has its influence on the pitch eventually.
Pramod, what about you? Because again, not a lot of games have happened in the US. MLC is the only sort of tournament, televised tournament, so to say, that people might have caught glimpses of. What do US expect of the surfaces as well in the US?
Actually, the surface today sort of surprised me a little bit. Firstly, was today a drop-in pitch? It was, right? Yeah. So I thought it was a tad surprising, but I think
I'm not sure if Pramod stuck or is it me? Seems to be the case that it is.
I can hear you both.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Now it's fine. Now it's fine. Sorry.
Yeah.
I guess I lost you then between. What were you saying, Pramod?
Yeah, no worries. I was just telling you about how I'm surprised with what we saw today. A high-scoring encounter by this thing. But I think very comparatively short boundaries as well helped a little bit. But I'm really keen to see how the pitches in New York pan out, given that they too are drop-in pitches. They're going to host some really high-profile games, and they've brought in all the way from Australia and sort of grew and groomed around in Florida, and they're going to be put there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, today overall with this, which I didn't expect, as one person in the comments said, to be a very high-scoring game. But I'm glad it happened. It was quite entertaining.
100%. Vasant, in fact, insisting that we take this comment, so let us take it up. A very good match, rather than the so-called rivalry match that's going to happen soon. Happy to see these kind of matches, but Canada could have bowled a bit better by bowling a bit wide outside off stump to Jones. Of course, again, inexperience definitely playing a big part. This is the first time they're also playing such a big tournament. There'll be a bit of that pressure and all of that. So let's cut them some slack. And of course, we'll also be talking about those things. Just there was one thing that I wanted to talk about, and there we go, adding to the surface conversation there. Vikas also going on to say, or rather ask, isn't the outfield going to play a major part? Because the grass or the turf, however you call it, isn't ready. Even today we saw the ball sort of sticking in the surface. In the outfield especially, it made it trickier for fielders to sort of slide or put in the dives. Jeet, don't you think that could play a big role going into the Super 8s especially?
It would be, but I believe rain also could have played a part because, as we know, it was raining a lot before the match started. So it was only just hours before the game started when it stopped raining. So I believe that could have had an impact on the outfield as well. But having said that, the India versus Bangladesh warm-up game also had a very, very slow outfield to begin with. So potentially, yeah, maybe there do seem to be a bit of under-preparation that's going on right now as far as the outfield is concerned. But maybe as time progresses, it might get better. The only thing I hope is that the weather stays quite fair throughout and rain doesn't have a huge impact because as soon as it rains, maybe that outfield is taking a bit of hit. So that's the only thing I'm hoping for. Otherwise, pitch, it was more or less something that was on the expected lines for me.
Interesting. Because I, for one, especially at the end of the power play, I still felt they did have a chance. But my reason was entirely different. If anything, I thought the game hinged entirely on Andries Gau's name that we'd spoken about just the other day. And I was expecting him to come good. Of course, he started off very scratchily. It took him some time. He's also coming off of an injury enforced break. So I wasn't too sort of, too strict on him, so to say. But even then, Aaron Jones, man, he did blow us apart. And I will show you guys the match summary in a bit. Let's hope it's ready. And yes, it is. There we go. Hope you guys can see it on your screens right now. Just to sort of, for the uninitiated once again, first innings, Canada were sent in to bat first. Navneet Dhaliwal, the opener, started off very, very, very briskly with, of course, Aaron Johnson. Aaron Johnson, in fact, started off the tournament with the boundary of Ali Khan. And speaking of Aaron Johnson, of course, guys, Pramod has published a fantastic interview with Aaron Johnson where he talks about his journey and what it means to be a part of the World Cup. So do check that out as well. All in all, a great start for them in the power play. Importantly, after that was Nicholas Curtin. The guy looked proper box office stuff. In fact, he was the most enjoyable batter for me. I know Dhaliwal did score more than him, but definitely looked a lot more at ease while facing that pace, while facing spin. Looked good again. I mean, in the offside, in the onside. Pramod, happy with how Nicholas Curtin played today?
Was wonderful to see him. I know he reminds me a lot of Nicholas Puran actually with a few shots that he plays. I don't know if you guys agree with that. But yeah, it was a good innings. That's the thing. Unfortunately, Harsh Thakkar is not part of the side this time. That's the thing. Usually, it's either depending on what the matchup is, it's either Nicholas Curtin or Harsh Thakkar who come in. Given that Curtin is left-handed and Harsh is right-handed. But I think since they didn't have that choice today, they had Shreyas Mova, another solid batsman who played well today, and that really paid off in terms of playing away the spinners and handling that a bit of matchup sort of situation in the middle. But yeah, Nicholas Curtin was top draw again today. I think he really carried the momentum from Dhaliwal and Dhaliwal and sorry, who's the other guy? Dhaliwal and Johnson and all those guys. And yeah, it was great to actually see him get some runs under his belt. You're on mute, Akshay.
You're on mute. Well done, good start.
Well done, man. See, not proud of myself there. But, wasn't up when the toss happened, so I'm not sure what the update was. But why wasn't Ravinder Pal Singh playing today? Was it a tactical choice or was it the injury concerns or anything?
We have no idea. So we had picked a probable playing 11 for USA, which is spot on. We had picked a probable playing 11 for Canada, which was spot on as well, except for Ravinder Pal Singh, which came as quite a bit of surprise. But I believe it has to be some kind of a niggle. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to leave out somebody like him when you didn't even utilize Bajwa properly. So, plus the fact that Ravinder Pal had a fantastic warm-up game as well. So, it didn't really make sense. So, I'll give them a bit of benefit of doubt and I'll assume that maybe there was some kind of a niggle behind his exclusion.
All right, fair enough. In terms of how the innings panned out, of course, Canada that way did go on quite smoothly. There were no hiccups, so to say, in the beginning, and the US bowlers couldn't really apply those breaks. Harmeet Singh was the pick of the bowlers for them, bowled beautifully today. Again, that's the Harmeet Singh we all would remember, जिन्होंने भी थोड़ा बहुत domestic cricket देखा, being known for his bowling and not being the aggressive batter that sort of he showed himself to be in the Bangladesh series. But Pramod, once again, today was Canada. Next, they'll be facing the likes of India, Pakistan. That bowling will have to probably do a bit better, right? Because we spoke about how Ali Khan would be that X factor. Corey Anderson didn't do too well, but do you expect them to sort of be able to hold themselves against these, top tier sides, Ireland even?
Yeah. The one good thing about US, they have plenty of bowling options up their sleeve. That's one good sign. Unfortunately, today not many sort of had their day. I think credit to Canada as well. Their batsmen really were positive. Right? As you said, they Johnson scored a boundary of the very first ball of the World Cup. So I know they came out with terrific, intent. But if US are to compete against, as you said, India, Pakistan, even Ireland for that matter, another top side, they really have to sort of figure out ways to firstly, get wickets at regular intervals, which I think they didn't look like at all in the power play or at any point. I think they were just gifted a couple of runouts today. Had that not been there, they could have been chasing about 215, 220 as well. You never know. But they really need to tighten up, and they need to zero in on roles for each bowler or each set of bowlers as to which phase. I don't think they have that plan sorted out as yet. I don't think so. Or it was just a poor sort of execution today. But I think that is something that they need to really iron out in the coming games.
It'll be very interesting to see though, because again, Pramod did mention those couple of lucky runouts, but all in all, feeling wise, they definitely were the better fielding side of the two today. I know that's not speaking much given how Canada fielded, but even then, a couple of their efforts in the outfield, especially the way they saved boundaries, the way they were willing to put their bodies on the line, those are definitely heartening signs, right? And we also spoke about just the other day, the US is definitely one of the more sort of, better looking side, so to say, thanks to the imported talents that they have in terms of, be it Corey Anderson or now Aaron Jones for that matter. Do you expect them to sort of come up, or do they have another upset or two up their sleeve?
I'm not too sure of that, but it's like you always mention, on a given day, anything can happen. So never count anybody out. So they do have the team. Now they have the confidence and the momentum after today's game as well. So potentially that clash against Ireland could be very, very interesting later on in this tournament. So you just never know. Even Canada for that matter. I mean, I wouldn't have expected them to score such a high number. I didn't expect 190 plus. Maybe 175 is what I saw as tops. But scoring over 190 plus, courtesy of Shreyas Mawaz pyrotechniques at the end, was sensational. So you just never know what these sides can do.
100%. I mean, just sort of dreaming big here. I was just thinking, if US are able to come over Ireland and Ireland sort of come over Pakistan or India, and India lose the other encounter, you never know. Thanks to net run rate, one of US or Ireland, if they're just able to make it through to the Super 8, it'll be great. It'll make for great viewing. And like I've always said, a sucker for underdogs. That's all I'm here for. Rooting for them day in, day out. But once again, just to sort of close out this summary bit in terms of what we saw. First innings, of course, Canada ended up with 194 for 5, that is. Thanks to Navneet Dhaliwal, Nicholas Curtin and Shreyas Mova in the end. Not just him, there were a couple of cameos. Bajwa also with that 5 ball 11. All of them just chipping with those couple of boundaries to help them cross the 190 mark. In reply, USA did not get off to the greatest of starts. Kaleem Sana was able to nip out Stephen Taylor with that in-dipper in the second ball of the innings. And then after that, the way Andres Gowes and Aaron Jones ended the power play, it seemed like, boss, okay, it's game, set and match Canada here. Canada's most likely going to go through. And then, like Pramod said, Nikhil Datta was given an over. Then Saad bin Zafar thought, 19 run diya, theek hai, let me double down on my spin tactics. I'll also bowl. 15 run diya. Then he gave, the thing is, 10th over or 11th over, he went back to Haliger, who bowled well. So I thought, ठीक है भाई, अभी इसको समझ आ गया, पेस ही खिलाना है, इनको चुपचाप हार्ड लेंथ हिट करो, कुछ नहीं होगा, simple. Bro, he goes to Pargat Singh, and I'm like, bro, क्यों? क्या? Why? Like, again, Pramod, I'll ask you this, like, why was Pargat Singh doing the ball there?
I mean, he couldn't have done worse than what Jeremy Gordon did he? He didn't do as bad as him in that one over where he went for 33.
But no, that's in hindsight. That's hindsight. Okay, you can't possibly say that.
I mean, if you take that catch and it was not a no ball, I mean, it changes the completion of the match completely. They still needed about 10 and over for the last 6-7. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out why Pargat Singh was brought on to attack at that point. I don't know. I mean, he leaked, I think, 15 odd runs, and I think again it once again opened the floodgates from there. So, but yeah, I'm still going to say that, if had those got out at that particular time, when instead of, I think Canada would have still, but then they still had batsmen like Corey Anderson and Harmeet Singh and others to follow. So I mean, it would have at least been in the balance, I reckon, if that catch was a legal one.
Pramod, Pramod, do you think Pramod Singh Kala would have bowled better?
No.
Exactly, that's the only logic I have. सात बिन सफर को किसी ने कल पटियाला हाउस दिखाया है movie, and he must have been like, this guy, ये लाएगा मेरे लिए wicket, बस.
Yeah.
That's the only logical explanation I can
But
come up
I
with.
can't believe overs 9 to 14, 6 overs you have conceded 111 runs. That is so much. I believe even Dew was probably becoming a factor, something I didn't expect at all. But the commentators were saying that maybe Dew is out there as well because Nikhil Datta had asked for a towel
At the towel,
after
yeah,
that
yeah,
slip
yeah,
up.
right.
So
Yeah.
potentially that
That's
also had an influence.
100%, 100%. And of course, speaking of Aaron Jones, Jeet briefly spoke about the wagon wheel that he saw. So let's also show it to our viewers in terms of how he was good in the leg side region. A strike rate of 280. Importantly, he got 25 balls, which again goes on to show कि भाई क्या कर रहे थे यार Canada. You clearly know that he was attacking just one region. Again, leg side maybe you can see that it's specifically the mid wicket region. It's only front to square. It's not all of leg side. So if you look like, to be honest, Aaron Jones is one of those batters who's I would be happy bowling to because बहुत ही clear plans है मेरे पास. I know very clearly this guy loves this one region. All I have to do is ensure he doesn't get to hit in that region. That's it. And you're gold. Unfortunately, that did not happen. 70 of 25 in the leg side region, 61 of 16, particularly in the mid wicket region. Just going on to show how he dominated Canada today. And again, they were in sort of, small sixes. They were proper towering sixes where he made sure that they cleared the ground and how. Jeet again makes you wonder. Just going back to the same question, they bowled off spinners, they bowled bowlers turning the ball into him, again making it a lot more easier for him to just go with the spin. Not sure, like, was there any thinking there, or maybe Saad was just probably backing what he thought were his best bowlers, probably.
I think he probably went by his gut feeling there. So again, I'm not saying that Aaron Jones is a mug on the offside. It's just that every batter has a preference, either it's leg or the offside. And Aaron Jones is that is that player, is that batter who prefers the leg side more than the offside. So maybe yeah, the plans could have been better, but that is something I could say even on say USA's part when they were bowling. So both teams, you can see that in experience. Yeah, I mean, they have played against each other, but at the end of the day, this was again at the big stage with a lot of eyeballs focused upon them. So they were going by the gut feeling. Maybe there were a few pre-match plans, but they didn't really seem to work out. There was no adjustment that came. The adjustment that came was not working out. And I mean, Pargat Singh was not the answer to the Aaron Jones onslaught. They could have perhaps been better, and I'm just hoping they kind of learn from it, learn from the experience, and implement it in the coming games.
I think after today, if anybody watching Canada for the first time, they wouldn't know who's a genuine spinner, who's a part timer. I think you'll be confused. I think you should watch them in the next couple of games to probably figure it out.
And once again, did feel bad for Jeremy Gordon. He wasn't as bad as that over made him look, and he bowled with a lot of heart. बहुत बुरा लगा, and he was sweating profusely. ऐसा लग रहा था मुंबई में बॉल कर रहा है बेचारा. And yeah, man, I felt bad. I wasn't too happy seeing that over pan out the way it did. He bowled probably 4 wides and a couple of no balls, including one off Andy Gauss's wicket, which of course completely turned the tide in US's favor. That one over, not that they weren't doing well before it, but 33 runs in an over. More often than not, if you get a 33 run over in an innings, you are going to end up in the winning side. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but you're basically getting nearly 15 to 20% of the target in just one over. और क्या चाहिए तुम्हें? एक ऐसा ओवर मिल जाए बस खत्म बात वहीं पे. But spoke about
yeah. And those 33 runs came on the back of 78 runs having been scored in the 5 overs that preceded that particular over. So
that's true.
That was a cherry on the cake for the US.
Completely agree with you on that. And in fact, you also earlier mentioned about how US bowlers themselves weren't just as good. It's just that Canadian bowlers sort of make them look better, so to say. So we do have both the pitch maps here. One thing that was very interesting to observe was Canada bowlers, lengthwise, both of them were fairly similar, except Aaron Jones and Andy Gauss ensured slot mein aaya to bhai, it's going. Which is why if you look at it in terms of deliveries bowled, it's fairly similar across lengths. It's the economy. Canadian batters scored at an economy of 8.1 in the slot length. On the other hand, US batters scored at 10.9. This shows that was pretty much the differential between the two sides. Baki sare lengths mein they played better. They played equally good. In fact, Canada was better batting the shorter lengths and all of that. Unfortunately, when it came to attacking the bad deliveries, attacking the slot deliveries, that's where USA made sure they made it count. Importantly, again, if you look at this, Canada bowlers, the way they bowled, you can see that a lot of balls, pitching on the middle stick or post the middle stick, which means it's ending outside the leg stump. Not the case with US. I know you can see a lot of deliveries, but US bowled a lot to Nicholas Curtin, who was a left-hander. In Canada's case, they bowled only 5 balls to Corey Anderson and probably 2 balls to Stephen Taylor. Despite that, they bowled almost as many deliveries on the leg stump line. They bowled as many straight deliveries as USA, which pretty much turned out to be the difference. We spoke about how Aaron Jones and the wagon wheel of just hitting the leg side. Again, just those simple things. Clearly, numbers also backing what we saw in front of our eyes, what we saw unfold in front of our eyes. Again, we're sort of being critical of them. This is just us being objective. We wish them the best of luck. This is their first time playing at the highest level, in this format. So fingers crossed, it is onwards and upwards for them. They will learn from this. They'll only come out of this better. So I don't think there's a lot to sort of be worried about. Importantly, of course, one final stat to show, which is a consequence of what we saw previously. This is the third highest successful run chase in the history of T20 World Cups. In fact, this is USA's highest ever run chase, their previous highest being 169. So good on them for being able to do that. And Pramod, no better way to kickstart the T20 World Cup, right? 195 plays 196. That's all. That's what fans come into the stadiums for.
Yeah, of course, it's a superb start to the World Cup. Hope there are many more matches like this. Evenly contested. I think. Although the dew did play a factor in the second innings, I mean that is due to happen more often than not. Is my guess in such games. But yeah, overall a fantastic start to the World Cup. Nothing better than two associates starting things off at a World Cup, and that's mainly another reason for that is at least one associate team wins at the end of the day. So I think I'm very happy with the way it all went today.
This is Pramod's wet dream, I guess. हर रोज बेचारा रात को यही सोच के सोता होगा कि भाई अच्छा कर दो कोई ताकि बात कर सकूं मैं. But completely agree with you. This is what even I personally watch the game for, to see these new names come up and do well, and sort of we also look up and take notice of them. Akash, of course, also going on to say hats off to Aaron Jones, who took the attack to Saad against whom he has a bad matchup before the game, of course. And of course, that also gave Gauss enough time to settle in. Love the game awareness. Completely agree with you there, Akash. And Nikhil also going on to say the first game itself showing that you can't bowl specialist off spin in T20 cricket anymore. Aaron Jones destroys off spin. The assault on Nikhil Datta turned the game. I guess Nikhil Datta will be happy that he's being considered like good enough to sort of make such a blanket statement कि भाई off spin ही मत डालो.
No, as I said, you don't know if he's a specialist off spinner or a part-time off spinner by what we saw today. So I think the jury is still out on that, I guess.
Fair enough. Jeet, you had something to say to the off-spin statement, though?
Yeah, I would just say that don't judge Nikhil Datta so soon. There is a lot of value that he has got. And as far as Saad bin Zafar is concerned, so one of the strengths that he generally keeps banking upon are the arm balls that drift into the right-handers. There was no drift in the air. There was nothing happening for the spinners with the dew also having played a part. So there were quite a few factors that were in favor of the batters, and Jones made the maximum use out of it.
100%. There was hardly anything, which is why, again, the thing is, I sort of, again, if we are going to be objective about it, I would understand where Saad was coming from in terms of backing his best bowlers, irrespective of whether they're spinners or pacers, because at the end of the day, that's what the game is about. But again, game awareness will happen or will improve only over time when you play more, in such tournaments and stuff like that. But yeah, again, left a lot of room to desire. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so for me, it was more about, if I have to compare it, I felt that the USA Pacers were probably off the radar. The Canada Pacers were better than the USA Pacers, but when it came to spin, the USA spinners were better than the Canadian spinners. So if you observed in the power play, Ali Khan was bowling scrambled seam with a new ball. Saurabh Netravalkar is somebody who relies on seam movement, but there was none on offer. That automatically makes you kind of irrelevant if you are clocking 125, 126. So he was out of the picture as well. So it was Jesse Singh who had to come into the picture and start doing his variations and bring them into play. And then Shadley went Chalkwick. He was just bowling off cutters after off cutters and became too predictable. There was no point. It was only Corey Anderson who was a little bit smarter with his off cutters and the lengths at which he was bowling the off cutters with the odd pace on deliveries. That was the saving grace as far as the USA pace department was concerned. Now, when you compare that with the Canadian pace department in the power play, what's the C presentation of Kaleem Sanath? That was absolutely outstanding. Jeremy Gordon also was. Jeremy Gordon, I'm sure you would have watched him before. Doesn't he remind you of Ravi Rampal? He was getting the
Oh,
movement away as well. The action is very similar, and even the lift that he gets off the pitch and the movement that he gets off the pitch away from the right-handers, even that is very similar to Ravi Rampal. So the Canadian Pacers were actually bowling seam up. USA Pacers were not doing that, surprisingly. It was Ali Khan was going seam up at the back end. What's the point of that when he was getting that tail in? He could have done that with a new ball against Aaron Johnson.
yeah, which is very interesting because conventional logic sort of suggests कि back end में seam up डालो, I mean seam up बोलता हूँ, sorry, cross seam
Scrambled.
पकड़ो ताकि yeah, scramble seam so that you can also hold on to it better, so you can execute your Yorkers and all better. Very, very, very interesting that. And also another name that I'll have to mention, the third pacer of that three-pronged pace attack of Canada, Hayliger. To be honest,
Yeah.
personally, I genuinely enjoyed watching him. 7th over में बंदा ball move करा रहा है वहाँ पे. Gauss was actually, he seemed all ends up वहाँ पे, and all at sea that is, sorry, वहाँ पे. And it was unfortunate that they weren't able to dismiss Gauss early enough. And he, of course, made sure that they paid for it. That of course, that Nova also not helping them. Anyways, yeah, you can't, a lot of ifs and buts, but even then, definitely a game that Canada can be proud of. No one really gave them the chance of being in the game, at least not, at the end of the first innings and stuff like that. For them to be able to win the game till, I would say, the 30th over mark, so to say, a 40 over game, kudos to them, yeah. Fingers crossed. Again, like we've always said, let's be positive. And yeah, let's hope that they are able to do something better going forward. Time for us to now move on to our next segment, which is called What's Trending. All right, we've decided to introduce this segment to sort of talk about, what people are talking of this game. It was the tournament opener, so there was definitely a lot of chat around. Hi, yaar, this is the oldest rivalry, USA Canada, 1844. Like Avnish also spoke about, 180 saal ki rivalry dekhne ko milegi. Not sure if any of the current players carry any of that baggage, but who cares? It's being built that way, and we couldn't sort of, we couldn't care lesser about it. But in terms of what we saw today, social media pages, let's have a look at the creative, and there we go. Finally, I thought I'd lost it. First one, of course, was from Nikhil Uttam Chandani, a very known expert of Caribbean cricket. He spoke about Aaron Jones. Again, guys, for those of you who asked if he's a local, of course, he's not, because he is from Barbados. He's played a lot of cricket there as well before completely shifting bases to the US. This is what Nikhil had to say. The world will now know the name of Aaron Jones, but this has been 5 years in the making. There isn't a month, a day, an hour, or a minute that this man doesn't put his heart and soul into the sport. No one ever deserves this more. Of course, completely agree. And like Jeet also mentioned earlier, he himself went on to say, boss, intent is going to be key, and he did walk the talk, and that's all we are here for. In fact, funnily enough, the next tweet is about Aaron Jones himself. Over 10 years ago, saying, make the most of your opportunities. Funnily enough, it's Jofra Archer tweeting in response, saying, where you? And of course, this also goes on to show that Jofra Archer and Aaron Jones apparently actually go back a long way. They're very close friends, they're close childhood friends. Something Ian Bishop spoke about in the comms, which is why it's important. कहीं पे भी अगर commentary panel का कोई schedule मिल जाए ना, बस देख लेना जहाँ पे भी Ian Bishop है, highlight कर लो, वो match mute किए बिना देख लो, उसके बाद mute कर लो. Speaking of Ian Bishop, of course, a very funny meme doing the rounds on social media. Any relatively unknown player enters the stadium to play. Ian Bishop, हम इस लड़के को जानते हैं, हमने देखा ऐसे. And of course, goes without saying that the man, the myth, the legend. Because in terms of research, in terms of being able to come up with those anecdotes, he's second to none. Guys, he just improves your cricket viewing experience, right? Pramod, you can probably start with this because you would enjoy such anecdotes being told about, right, when the cricket's going on.
Yeah, Ian Bishop is definitely one of the most well-researched commentators, regardless of which team is playing. Of course, there are other commentators too. One such that comes to mind, when you talk about associate cricket and the knowledge is, of course, Andrew Leonard, who I think is part of the commentary panel as well. I don't know if he was on today. And of course, even Alan Wilkins is another example of who knows his stuff. He doesn't, he does his research like those two, and provides you with insight. So yeah, definitely watch out for these three if you want to know about players like Aaron Jones or Saad bin Zafar or other players from the associate world. I think these are the ones to follow for sure.
Completely agree there. And again, like we say always, the more these people play, the more we also get to know of these players, and the lesser we will sort of depend on commentators to sort of improve our knowledge about these players. I mean, agar hum log, okay, I shouldn't take any names. Chuck it. Let's not take any names. But yeah, it's always good to sort of get to know more about the stories behind these players, which is why once again, guys, plug in. Please make sure you do check out Pramod Anand's interview of Aaron Johnson. A lot more interviews to come. Pramod, what all have been published? You can probably make a plugin, because I don't want to list out the names that you haven't even published yet. Ki haan bhai, iska bhi ho gaya, uska bhi ho gaya.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Aaron Johnson, of course, another guy from West Indies. He grew up in Jamaica and shifted to Canada in 2019. Of course, that his story is already up on our website. Other than him, another exciting prospect is Namibia's Jack Brassel, who played in the Under-19 World Cup earlier this year, made his senior debut, and now he's in the T20 World Cup. That's a World Cup squad. That's a terrific year. His story too, it was very interesting, and even his that is also upon our website for now. For upcoming, let me give you an upcoming sort of this thing. Soon you'll be able to see Papua New Guinea's head coach Tatinder Taibu's interview on our site shortly. So yeah, and after that, probably there's one more that will go up is of Jeet Singh, Netherlands batsman and a part-time bowler, of course. So yeah, so do keep an eye on all that.
Yes, guys, please make sure you keep an eye on all of them. There'll be a lot of interviews coming out. Of course, you can also, if you guys are interested in knowing such stories about associate cricket and whatnot, do check out Pramod's sort of feed as well, social media feed, and also on our site, you can check out his author page. He's interviewed a bunch of players. He's interviewed Zishan Maqsood, there's Ayan Khan, UAC Kafi. Who else? There's Vritya Arvind, I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing.
Yeah, of course, USA Kafi, but then UA not in this World Cup, unfortunately. So yeah, all those Akib Ilyas, many good stories that come out of us. That's why I love associate cricket. There are some really very interesting stories that emerge out of there. So my aim is to just bring that to the fore.
100%. Anyways, it is time for us to now move on to our next segment. Of course, this is a lot more it's a lot more than just a review, guys, like we've spoken about, which is why we named it aptly What's Up World Cup, because there's going to be everything World Cup. So now let's quickly move on to the next segment, which is of course going to be a giveaway contest for all of you nerds out there who love to sort of make a quick buck. This is the time for you guys. Well, who am I is what that Sting said, and who am I is, of course, what this is going to be about. Every What's Up World Cup episode, we will have a Who Am I giveaway contest. We'll come up, or rather, we'll dish out 3 hints, and you guys need to guess who the player is. And once again, guys, like the MNL, please do not key in your answers in the live chat. Wait for the live stream to end, and make sure you key in your answers in the main comment section at the end of the live stream. Not here. You've got to wait for the video to end, and then you've got to key in your answers. And one lucky winner stands to win a cool 500 rupee Amazon voucher. So let's see who's going to win a lot of them. I'm excited because I had great fun just coming up with these trivias. I also got to learn a lot in the process, and of course got to travel promote a lot in the process. Let's start with the first one for this edition of the World Cup, and I'm still searching, and there we go. All right, 3 hints. Play domestic cricket in a different country with another member of the current US squad. This is the first hint, guys. So US squad, so that's fairly obvious. There you go. That's in fact another subtle hint there. Played in 3 different franchise leagues. So this guy's definitely made a name for himself. I made my debut with 4 other players, all of whom are a part of the current World Cup squad. So there you go. 3 hints in this. Played domestic cricket in a different country with another member of the current US squad. Played in 3 different franchise leagues, and I made my debut with 4 other players, all of whom are a part of the World Cup squad. So there you go. These are the 3 hints. Of course, I'll have them up for another 5 seconds before we go back. And you've got to wait for the live stream to end. You guys can do all the Google search that you want to do and then key in your predictions at the end of the live stream in the main comment section. Do let us know what do you think, who do you think rather this player is, and yeah, you stand to win a cool 500 rupee Amazon voucher. I'm guessing Jeet and Pramod also in their heads are doing some mental maths है कि कौन हो सकता है भाई. Pramod like मेरे को पता है ये नाम, सोचना ही नहीं. अरे ये तो बहुत obvious है यार. अरे ये तो वही है लड़का, अपना लड़का है, तो पता ही है अपने को. So anyways, that's the Who Am I contest for today, guys. We've given you 3 hints. Make sure you've read them thoroughly. If not, you can always scroll back and go through the hints, pause it, take a screenshot, whatever you want to do. You can search it on Google, come up with your answers, wait for the live stream to end, and then enter your prediction. I mean, not predictions, rather. Enter your answers in the main comment section once the live stream is ended. Time for us to now move on to the last segment of the first episode of What's Up World Cup, which of course is going to be What's Ahead. And I'm searching for this thing yet again. I mean, it'll take me some time to remember the names. It's Let's Look Ahead, clearly. I hope I don't get a rap on the knuckles for that. Anyways, in terms of Look Ahead and what we will be talking about is the next couple of games that are going to happen, which of course is West Indies versus Papua New Guinea. That's going to happen tonight. That's of course happening in the Providence Stadium, again in the West Indies, that is. And tomorrow at 6 a.m. All of this, of course, is Indian Standard Time, guys. One thing we observed during the previews was that over 60% of our viewership came from non-India geographies, which was very heartening for us to see. So great on you guys. So all of you watching, today there's going to be a game at 8 p.m. IST Indian Standard Time, which is West Indies taking on Papua New Guinea. And tomorrow 6 a.m. IST, it's Namibia taking on Oman, and that game's happening in Barbados. 2 exciting games for sure, and we will be talking briefly about them. Let's start with West Indies Papua New Guinea. Jeet, do you think the 300 mark will finally be broken in international cricket?
No, PNG is not so bad that West Indies would end up scoring around 300. I'm just hoping that one of my key picks in Kabua Moria comes to the fore and actually shows what he's got. It doesn't matter if he goes for 50 runs in his 4 overs. If he gives me 2 or 3 wickets, I'm more than happy. So just watch out for that guy. There is new ball value. There is value in the death. And hopefully he can restrict the West Indies to 190, 200. But yeah, anyway, we know who the favourites are for this one.
Of course, interesting. Pramod, where do you stand? Because, I mean, sure, I'm not saying Papua New Guinea's bowling is that weak, but if they can score 257 against Australia, they surely can score 300 here, right?
Yeah. Firstly, there's rain predictions in Guyana today. So, even if West Indies can, they probably can't get to 300 today. But yeah, as Jeet said, the PNG bowlers are not that bad that they can be whacked around for 300 odd runs. Having said that, as I mentioned earlier, that I had a chance to speak to Tatinder Taibu, the head coach of PNG. He's basically given out 4 names to watch out for the tournament. One is, of course, Asadwala, the captain. He was part of the earlier edition, and he's been there for as long as I can remember. Second guy, of course, Tony Ura, another attacking batter at the top. He's scored a lot of runs at the top of the order. Of course, the third one has to be, I think Jeet's guessed it already. It's Charles Amini, brilliant all-rounder and a gun fielder. Everybody, you speak to anyone, they'll tell you about what a brilliant fielder he is. And the fourth one was a little interesting one. Is a seamer. He mentioned his name of Ale Now. I think a seamer who's been doing reasonably okay the last few months. But the thing with PNG is, I think they're going into the tournament at the back of some really critical wins. I mean, not massive, not big countries. They've beaten Nepal, they've beaten Hong Kong. They won a tri-series recently in Hong Kong. So I think, and Taibu, who took over in August, since then I think they've seen a good a positive results ever since he's taken over. So I think it'll spill over into this World Cup. I mean, they may not beat West Indies per se, but I'm sure their performance this time will be much better than what they did in 2021.
I mean, let's hope in some sense it is the island derby, so to say. So let's hope we get to see something very interesting. And Norman Vanua, of course, I'd also throw in my name. Always looking forward to seeing some aggressive 6 hitting. We've spoken about how West Indies bowling attack, although on paper looks good enough, but they can very well on their day concede a very high score. Let's hope today's the day, and let's hope Norman Manwa is the batter to sort of help PNG, not necessarily get across the line, but at least, score something so that we also get to watch a proper 40-over game and not, something ke boss 100 mein all out और वहाँ पे 100 6 में chase करती है. So fingers crossed something like that won't happen. Also, I'll also have to do a bit of self-flexing. Love it when Akshay improvises what he's reading. The best among CDC in that. Thank you so much, Vasant. ये screenshot लेके अगले appraisal में दिखाऊंगा. बस इसी के लिए काम आता है. बाद में बताना 50 रुपए दे दूंगा Google Pay में. But of course, the next game with this tomorrow, Namibia versus Oman. The game's happening in Barbados. The game starts at 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Jeet, what are you expecting? Namibia, Oman? Who starts favorites? And importantly, how do you expect the game to go out?
As far as favorites are concerned, I believe Namibia are the slight favorites to begin this clash. It's not a completely dominant preference that, of course, goes towards Namibia. It's more like 60-40 in favor of Namibia to begin with. But what I'm surely interested in is it's a night fixture at Barbados. So I'm just very keen to see how it behaves, because one thing that I've heard is that in the day games, the spinners play quite a massive role. But in night games, their effectiveness drops a lot. So potentially the pacers are going to come into the picture. So that's where I believe Namibia have a great pace attack. They've got a lot of left-arm pacers, as we discussed in the group review. And they've got the experienced David Visa as well and Ben Chikongo. But having said that, Oman are no slouch with Bilal Khan, Fayaz Bhatt and Kalimullah and Rafiullah as well, who will be chipping in. So it's probably going to be the pace attack versus pace attack and who wins that particular battle, which will go on to decide who goes on to win that particular match.
Interesting. Pramod bhai, where do you stand at Oman? Again, a team that will be close to your heart. A lot of interviews.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it'll be, it's again, both have quality pacers, as Jeet already touched upon. But yeah, I think Namibia for me as well will start as slight favorites for me. I think Oman, although they did play something. I think they played PNG and did reasonably okay against them. I think ahead of the World Cup, if I'm not wrong. But I think Namibia, I think have the personnel. I think they're very well structured as a team. I think they're I think they're more settled compared to say Oman. And yeah, I think for me, they do certainly start as favorites. But yeah, of course, it depends on the conditions on the particular day as well, as Jeet mentioned. But yeah, Namibia clear favorites in this one.
Fair enough. I mean, of course, a lot of names to look forward to from both sides, which is why it'll make it that much more interesting. Fingers crossed, it will be some sort of a repeat of what we saw today, where it is a high-scoring thriller. A low-scoring thriller is also something I can live with, of course. Vasant asking us is, what's up World Cup, a daily show? Yes, it will be a daily show. Every day we will have our asses here at 12 p.m. sharp. 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Once again, it feels good to have to mention Indian Standard Time, because I was so pleasantly surprised to see Bhai Saab. Over 60% of our viewership is from non-India geographies. Bhai Saab, let's have it. Let's go global, guys. Come on, we are clearly global. So yeah, 12 p.m. IST, we will be here reviewing all the games that have happened in the last 24 hours, which means tomorrow we will be reviewing these two games. West Indies versus PNG and Namibia versus Oman. So it'll be a daily show. So make sure you guys also tune in at 12 p.m. In case you guys are busy, you can always check it out later. We're very cool that way. We're very accommodating that way. You don't need to worry about it. Nikhil also asking us, and let's take this one last question before we wrap it up. Does Hetmeyer even deserve to play in that lineup? Oh my goodness. Kya lagta hai bhai? Jeet, let's start with you on this.
Yeah, deserve ka to pata nahi, but it's just that their middle order is already so jam-packed with the kind of names they've got, with the likes of Andre Russell, Robin Powell, and Nicholas Poole. It's hard to fit in Shimron Hetmeyer. So purely because of that, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. The only open slot could be, say, number 3 and 4, where if you push Roston Chase to number 3, then that number 4 slot becomes empty. And then Nicholas Pooran goes up, and then that is the only way you can fit in Shimron Hetmeyer in the middle order. So for starters, I don't think he's going to be in the playing 11. In terms of deserves it or not, well, that's a different question altogether. I don't see why he doesn't deserve it, but there's no place for him right now, unless if that adjustment is made, like I mentioned.
Indian fans be like, यहाँ अपने एक finisher के बांधे वहाँ पे लोग Hetmeyer को नहीं खिला पा रहे, बताओ भाई. Crazy stuff. Of course, that's what West Indies is all about. proper mercurial batters who can take the game away from you in a matter of balls and also get out in the first ball and just end the game there. So that's how it goes. Hope the down under story goes global. Bhai, locally नहीं हुआ global तो बहुत दूर की बात है, टेंशन मत लो. वो story, that story is always going to be between me and Avnish. Simple, खत्म बात और किसी को पता ही नहीं होगा. Anyways, that's it from us tonight. It is time for us to quickly wrap this up. And before that, okay, one last comment. Let's take it up because Prash has been a recent subscriber and we did enjoy his questions yesterday as well. Isiley only for that. Last question. Chase is the only spinner they can use against left-handers in the middle overs. Fair point, Prayash. And Nepal don't play anytime soon, right? Pramod bhai, when is Nepal's first game? Is it on the 3rd or 4th? Or mute pe ho. I'm guessing he's also checking in the meantime, but
I'm not exactly. I think it is on 6th, right? Is it?
oh, there's a lot of time. It is on the 4th. It's on the 4th.
Sorry.
Nepal take on
Sorry.
Netherlands.
Netherlands. Oh, that's a good game. Yes.
4th of June, Nepal, Netherlands. That'll be a
Yes.
very, very, very interesting game. So let's hope that game happens soon enough. Anyways, that's it from the three of us tonight, or rather today. And like we said, guys, 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time, despite it means that our sleep cycles are going for a toss, we will be here talking about the games, talking about the names, talking about the players. So make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. Importantly, make sure you've hit the like button on the live stream if you haven't already. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Have a great day. Make sure you guys key in your predictions, or rather key in your answers and entries at the end of the live stream in the main comment section. It's a goodbye from all of us. Have a safe weekend.